It's absolutely horrific. And the fact that Bridger has still not disclosed exactly what he did with April just further compounds the grief and agony of her parents, family and friends, and indeed the community of the whole village. So it's absolutely horrific. And there are concerns, clearly, about Bridger's use of child abuse imagery, of child pornography, and we need to understand more clearly the precise links between that and the extent to which his viewing of that imagery provoked him into committing this horrific offence. Because, Peter, the judge has painted a very clear image, haven't they, of this horrendous man who had a very deep interest in horrific images that he found online. Could you make that link between what he immersed himself with and then what he ended up doing to April Jones?
Well, I think there's plain evidence of in the build-up to abducting and murdering April that he was looking at the images. The causation factor is something that maybe nobody will ever be able to get to the bottom of. But it's plain that led in the sort of immediate lead up to the offence. That was him building up to it, if you see what I mean. It was obviously being used to that effect. And John, you're very concerned, aren't you, the NSPCC, about the increasingly easy access to images and material online? We've got a huge problem globally with child abuse imagery. It's grown exponentially, massively over the last decade in particular. We're not going to be able to put that genie back in the bottle. It's out there and it's going to be out there forever now. So we need to be addressing it through deterrence and clear warning signs for people who are viewing this imagery or are thinking about viewing it, that the authorities, child protection authorities and law enforcement are monitoring them, are onto them, and also deterrence messages and I think prevention messages as well to people who get addicted to this, that there is help and information and advice out there to help them kind of wean themselves off it, I think. From a police perspective, is that almost impossible to police, or kind of John's I think measures? It is impossible to police. The internet is an international beast. It's impossible for any one jurisdiction to police it. You close down one site in a jurisdiction where there is some sort of control over what's going on, and frequently it will just spring up in another jurisdiction where there is no such control. And I think we're just going to see more and more of that. We see it with fraud, we see it with everything. And the child pornography imagery is no different. Unfortunately, as John says, it's out there, and I don't think that the genie can be put back in the bottle. What measures would the NSPCC like to see being put in place? If you could do anything, what would you do? We would like to see a continued concerted efforts by government and by industry. Progress has been made, but also I think we need to be ensuring that international cooperation and coordination is as joined up as it can be, and that offenders are tracked and importantly, the victims are identified and they get the treatment as well. Of course. And Peter, we know that Bridger will continue to see a psychiatrist in prison. He still has control, though, doesn't he? Because he hasn't told the family what happened to April and what he's done with her and her body. Will he ever, do you think? It's impossible to say. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. We've heard that he's said to have spoken to a chaplain at some point in the lead up to the trial. That gives a glimmer of hope that maybe there's something there to work with. But I hope that he does the right thing just to give some closure to April's family. Of course. John Brown and Peter Kirkham, thank you very much for joining me tonight.